Hello and welcome to What the Hey. Thank you for joining me to check out a video that someone suggested I react to, and that person is DAAP, so hello to you, and thank you once again for the request. And the actual content that I'm checking out today is titled Everything You Need to Know About Africa, which was uploaded on November 14th of 2023. The video duration is 11 minutes and 1 second, and the video description gives links and information on how to contact the business side of the channel, as well as a small summary on the purpose of the content. And if you want to check out the channel that actually created and uploaded this video, that was Geography Now, who I'll have like tagged and linked in the description. So if you want to check out more of their content or the video that I'm actually reacting to, I will have that stuff like linked and sourced in the description, so it's there if you want to use it. Also in the description, if there's anything in this content that I feel like someone would like to be warned about, I'll mention that there. You can read it if you want to, you don't have to. And last but not least, I'll make a little comment and pin it with the different like timestamps and segments of this video. So if there's really only something specific you want to check out, that will be listed there. But I believe that is all of the information stuff, so let's actually check out the video itself.
Hey Geography Peeps, so as
We
you know,
are
I'm working
Geography
on the next country
Peeps.
episode, which means in the meantime we gotta do a filler video.
Let's go.
By the way, get your Geography Now merch like this Geography Now mug.
That's so cute.
GeographyNow.com, or you can get this limited edition.
Oh, he has a
Geography
whole
Now
little
figurine.
figure. That's
me holding the
fantastic.
globe. I'm a figurine now. You can get this at figgyme.com.
That's so cute. I like that website
before
title.
we finish all the country episodes. And if you get a mug and a figurine, you can put the figurine in the mug and
He's
fly
drowning
away
for
to
real.
any country that was
I like his shirt, like it's on point for the video.
In any case, so as you know, our last country episodes will be the appropriately back-to-back nations of Zambia and Zimbabwe.
Perfect.
So on this channel, we've sort of kind of explained many of the various factors and details of what makes the African continent unique. However, we've never really done like a massive overview.
The whole
as a
continent,
reference video.
yes.
So today, I will do just that in
Perfect.
11 minutes. So ready, set, go.
Let's
First off,
go.
Africa is the second largest continent in the world, made up of 54 countries, generally divided into 5
Blah, blah,
geopolitical
blah.
regions that pertain to both the demographic and physical makeup. They
Yes.
are the North, South, East, West, and Central regions.
Great.
First off, let's dive into understanding the people groups.
So
Today,
many.
there are estimated to be about 3,000 ethnic groups speaking about 2,000 languages throughout
2,000?
the entire continent.
Goodness.
For intercommunication between all of these ethno-linguistic people groups, there are 5 main lingua franca languages used between them. They
Lingua
are Arabic,
franca.
English, French, Portuguese, and Kiswahili. Equatorial Guinea
Kiswahili,
is the only
that's cool.
country in Africa that has Spanish as an official language, and the Central African Republic is the only country with an indigenous Creole as a co-official language.
I like that flag, by the way.
Of all the countries in Africa, only 4 of them were completely uninhabited until discovery and settlement by Europeans. They are Cabo Verde, Sao Tome and
The
Principe,
Europeans,
Seychelles,
as
and
always.
Mauritius, side note, being one of the only 3 countries on Earth that have a Hindu majority. To
Really?
understand the people of Africa, though, you have to look at the ethno-linguistic people groups and their respective regions on the map. Today,
Yes,
there are
please.
4 main indigenous language families of Africa, although linguists will argue about the validity of some of the languages belonging to these families, but that's a whole other story. In
It
any
really
case,
is.
they are Afro-Asiatic, which includes but is not limited to languages like Arabic, Cushitic, Amharic, Omoro. The Niger-Congo group, sometimes collectively called Bantu, although that term typically refers
Bantu
to the
sounds
Central and
familiar.
Eastern Niger-Congo languages, which
Yes.
includes languages like Swahili, Lingala, Congo,
Swahili
Zulu,
I've heard
Xhosa,
of.
Yoruba, Igbo, and Akan. Then you have the Nilo-Saharan, sometimes collectively called Nilotic, which includes things like Maasai, Nubian, Luo, Nuer, Dinka, Songhai, and Kanuri. And then you have the Khoisan language family,
Khoisan.
including things like Khoikhoi, Kwe,
Khoi,
Naro, and Kung. And yes, Khoisan languages are
Clicking.
the ones that started the whole clicking concept thing, you know,
Yes.
and
I can
it was
never do
borrowed
that.
into other languages, mostly Bantu
very
based,
cool.
like Zulu and Xhosa. Of all these
Xhosa,
ethno-linguistic groups, Tanzania is the only country where you can find all 4
Let's
of
go,
them
Tanzania.
natively spoken, with the small
Fancy.
isolated Khoisan, Hadza, and Sandawe communities. Otherwise, there is one more native ethno-linguistic group that technically isn't quite exactly fully
Madagascar,
African,
hello.
but rather Austronesian mix, the Malagasy people of Madagascar.
Yeah.
Basically, a long time ago, people from what is now basically Indonesia
Fancy
sailed across
ships.
the Indian Ocean, inhabited it, and brought their language and customs, and eventually mixed in with the locals, creating a whole new genetic subgroup.
It is what it
Geopolitically speaking, the
is.
continent has the African Union, headquartered in Addis Ababa,
That's
Ethiopia,
fancy.
and it consists of all 54 African
There's
nations,
so many
plus
flags.
the disputed Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic as a member state, making a total of 55. As of
So many.
2023, 6 of the member states have been suspended due to internal conflict caused by military
There's
coups. Within
always
the EU, there are 8
conflict.
recognized regional economic communities that function as sort of like a regional union or trade bloc within the certain regions of Africa. They are the Maghreb Union, or the AMU,
Maghreb.
the Common Market of Eastern and Southern Africa.
I've heard of that, I think.
Community of Sahel-Saharan States, CEN.
I think I've
SAD.
heard of that.
East African Community, EAC.
Have not heard of that.
Community of Central African States, ECAS. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. The Intergovernmental Authority of Development,
I've not heard of that.
EGAD. And the South Africa Development Community, SADC.
Sad this is
Membership of these communities
there's
sometimes
so many cool
overlaps,
flags.
which makes things complicated, especially when it comes to issues like free trade and freedom of movement.
Yes.
One frustration a lot of Africans have is the fact that despite traveling within their own continent, they still are required to obtain visas when entering certain African countries.
Really?
Other non-African countries are allowed to enter visa-free. Today, only 5 countries
That's
in Africa
fancy.
have visa-free status for all African citizens. They are Kenya, the Gambia, Benin, Seychelles, and Rwanda. Some countries have been talking about following this trend in the future, but for now, time will tell. As
More,
of the 2020s,
hopefully,
about
goodness.
half of the population of the African continent is urban. The largest cities being Kinshasa,
Ooh,
DRC
goodness.
at number
That's
1.
so pretty.
Yes, as of 2023, they surpassed Lagos, Nigeria, which comes in at number 2, followed by Cairo, Luanda, and Dar es Salaam. Nonetheless,
There's
the
so
JSE,
many people.
or Johannesburg Stock Exchange, is the largest in Africa by total market capitalization.
I've heard of
somewhere
that.
around $1.5 trillion in value. Otherwise, the rural population of Africa is where you are more likely to find more of the colorful, documented traditional customs from certain
That's what
tribal
most
groups.
people
There
think
are too
of,
many
which
to
makes no
highlight, but
sense.
Some of the most documented ones that you might be familiar with seeing in pictures include tribes and peoples and groups like the Maasai of East Africa, the Himba of Namibia, the Mursi and Surma of Ethiopia, the Tutsi of Rwanda and Burundi, the Pygmies of Congo, and the Dogon of West Africa. Even the largest nomadic peoples on Earth, the Fula/Fulani, are in Africa, mostly concentrated in the Sahelian
There's so many
regions of
different
West
ones,
Africa.
which is
yes,
cool.
A subgroup of them, the Wadabe, are the people from those National Geographic
With
pictures
the
you've probably
teeth
seen
thing.
with the guys that put on the makeup and have those
Yes.
eccentric facial expressions.
Yes.
And yes, the movie Black Panther took inspiration from many of the aesthetic elements of these
Yep.
tribal customs, to
Which is
create the look
kinda
for
cool.
Wakanda and its people. Within Africa, you have 3 official monarchies: Morocco, Eswatini, and Lesotho. Otherwise, you have hundreds, if not thousands, of sub-national constituent monarchies and chiefdoms within Africa. Although many may not hold any official legislative power, they usually hold high levels of regional influence and typically have some degree of involvement within the nation's politics. Most of these constituent monarchies and chiefdoms are hereditary, and some are hereditary and elective. Each has their own unique system of governance and rulership.
It's all
Some of
so
the most highly
unique
recognized
and
ones you may have
complicated,
heard of
but
include
cool.
the Ashanti of Ghana, the Zulu of South Africa. Ethiopia even had that empire that ended with
Yes.
Haile Selassie in 1974, but like his descendants still live on and claim the throne. And
Which
side
is
note, yes,
complicated.
he is the Haile Selassie guy that some Rastafarians consider as their messiah, and the one that Bob
For
Marley
some
was
reason.
referring to in his song Iron Lion Zion. Historically, Africa is the cradle of humanity. The oldest sites of human inhabitation come from here, and migration
Yes.
patterns all expand outward from Africa to other parts of the world. Africa is
Everyone
home to some
just
of
be
the most notable
traveling.
eras recorded in human history, such as the Egyptian civilization, which lasted over 3,000 years, the kingdoms of Aksum and Kush, Carthage, the Mali Empire, and the largest area-wise, the Songhai Empire, as well as Greater Zimbabwe.
I'm
Just
glad
to
that
name a
I'm
few.
recognizing
Moving on to
some of this
geographical
stuff.
and physical regions, you have the Mediterranean part along the coast of the Mediterranean. You have parts of Macaronesia, which include the Canary Islands.
Oh,
and
is this
Madeira,
on,
which
like,
belong to Spain and
Google
Portugal,
World or
respectively.
something? It's
In the
like
Gulf of
pulling
Guinea,
it.
You have the Cameroon
I love
line,
that.
a volcanic island arc that ends in Mount Cameroon, which includes the islands of Sao Tome and Principe, as well as Annobon Island, which belongs to Equatorial Guinea. On the mainland, you have the Sahara, the second largest desert on Earth after Antarctica, which has hamadas, or elevated plateaus of rock, such as
looks so
the Atlas
dry.
Mountains, the Tibesti Mountains, and the Ahagar Mountains. Underneath, you have the Sahel, which is basically the dry, grassy transition zone into the green side of Africa.
It's like
Underneath the Sahel,
Minecraft
on the west
biome
and central
change.
sides, you have the tropical rainforest, mostly in the Congo River Basin, making up about 1/5 of Africa's landmass, the second largest rainforest in the world after the Amazon. Otherwise, mostly on the eastern and other central sides, you have the savanna and flatter grassland plateaus until you hit the Great Rift Valley. This is the only major tectonic fault line that cuts
That sounds
through
like
the
The
continent of
Lion
Africa.
King.
It extends all the way from Djibouti down to Malawi.
Djibouti.
Creates a plethora of
Let's
unique
go.
land formations like the Great Lakes and the Ethiopian highlands, and even the tallest mountain in Africa, Mount Kilimanjaro, which is actually a
Ayo.
dormant volcano. In fact, the entire Rift Valley has many active geothermal spots. Just to skip away from Kilimanjaro, in the DRC is Mount Nyiragongo, one of the most
Never
active
heard of that.
volcanoes in Africa, let alone the
That
world.
sounds
On the
dangerous.
east side, you have the Swahili coast, which has a
Hey.
unique makeup of coral reefs and barrier islands, unlike the other coasts of Africa. Head further south, and you reach the Kalahari and Namib deserts of southern
That
Africa.
literally- I
which
would
have
die
some of
out
the
there
most
'cause that
stunning
looks
views
so
you'll ever see,
dry.
with massive sand dunes that hit the ocean. Further south,
Go
you hit the Great
sledding.
Escarpment, the last and final mountain range that shields the southern tip of Africa, which contains the Finbos, a unique isolated biome that is considered its own floristic kingdom.
They gotta
one of
add
only
that to
6 in the
Minecraft.
world. In Africa, there are 5 major rivers that you need to know of. The Niger, or Niger River, which feeds the west side of Africa.
Niger?
The Congo for the
I've never
central
heard it
side. The
pronounced
Nile
that way.
feeds the north and east. The Zambezi for the central and east side. And the Orange River for the south. Africa
Orange.
also has the tallest, fastest, and largest land animal
Cheetah.
on Earth. And some extra side notes notes. Nigeria is the most populous and largest economy in Africa, followed by Egypt, South Africa, Algeria, and Morocco. People will say Ethiopia and Liberia were the only countries never to be colonized, and although
Probably
it is
false.
mostly true for Ethiopia, there was a period of 5 years where Italy partially occupied
Europe
Ethiopia
literally
during
just
World
like
War
went
II.
everywhere.
It was never a formalized, recognized entity considered against international law and the Geneva Convention, so it wasn't
Fair
legit.
enough.
Otherwise, Liberia was technically colonized, but by freed American slaves, making it a unique historical
That's why the
oddity
flag
in which
looks
it
similar.
was repatriated black colonialism. Many inventions and discoveries are attributed to Africa, such as advancements in mathematics used in ancient Egyptian times. Carbon steel was developed in the Haya region of Tanzania around 100 AD. For more contemporary inventions, we have things like the CAT scan and the cardio pad.
Dang.
Over 60% of sub-Saharan Africa is under 20, making it the fastest growing region in the world. Lesotho is the only country in Africa completely enclaved within another country, South Africa, whereas Eswatini is also enclaved, but it borders two countries, South Africa and Mozambique. The Gambia is almost entirely engulfed with Senegal, with a short border on the Atlantic coast, and is essentially just a country that narrowly borders one river for about 200
All
miles.
those rivers.
Angola is the only country in Africa with an exclave, Cabinda, which is famous for its oil industry. There are quite a few separatist regions and disputed territories too many to list.
Because there's
but
so
one of the
many
most famous
areas.
ones probably being Western Sahara. If you look at maps, there's usually a serrated line with a light highlight disputed between Morocco. About 80% of it is administered by Morocco, but there's a narrow sliver that's controlled by the
There's
Sahrawi
always like
people, or
a
the
narrow
Sahrawi
sliver
Arab
of something that
Democratic
makes it the
Republic people that are mostly
exception, but that's
headquartered
okay.
in the town of Tindouf in Algeria. Otherwise, you have other disputed areas like Somaliland and the Azawad-controlled areas of Mali and so on. Too many to list. Some people claim that the Eye of
Clearly.
the Sahara in Mauritania, aka the Rishat structure, is actually the lost city of Atlantis. Dust from the
Hey, that's
Saharan
cool.
desert blows all the way to the Amazon rainforest and fertilizes it with small diatom particles. Some people say there's an undiscovered Loch Ness monster type of animal resembling a brontosaurus
It
living
went
in the middle
from
of the Congo jungle
Ireland
called
to
Mokele
there?
Mbembe.
Hello?
And in Gabon, you can find surfing hippos. So there you go.
I
A
love
lot of things
hippos.
you missed out on, but that's basically what you need to know about the African continent if you're just beginning to
Basically.
research it. Hope that helped. Hope you learned something. Cheers. Stay cool. Stay tuned.
You too. We getting boogie with it. Hey, hey, hey. We got all the E's or another G's. It kind of looks like, oh no, it is like an E because it's like geography kind of. That's fantastic. I like that logo. It's very cute. Very fancy. I like it. So I think the most impressive thing about that entire video is the fact that he was able to speak that fast. I have the tendency to speak fast if I don't really think about it that much, but I feel like he kind of had to do that for the video to get all of that information in there like in 11 minutes, which it didn't feel like 11 minutes because he spoke fast. I honestly feel bad for the dude because I have no idea when he took breaths, like it was all so quick and like cut together. I don't know. Now I like the way that the person requested this video because they said really any Geography Now video, so I chose this one. One, because I've never seen a Geography Now video and I was very impressed, and two, because I don't know that much about Africa, so this was helpful. Like, that video in general was very helpful because as he was kind of explaining, there are so many areas of Africa, and some of the stuff I was familiar with, but I kind of wanted to realize the stuff that I wasn't familiar with, and after watching that video, I realized that there's a lot of stuff I don't know about Africa, but it did help. So aside from him talking really fast, I feel like there are a lot of techniques that were really helpful with presenting the information and stuff in the video. Me personally, I'm someone who's very visual, so to see all the different maps and kind of moving some of the maps and kind of highlighting certain parts of them, like the rivers, that was really cool because otherwise I would be confused. And just having pictures come into the video, aside from just him talking in the bleak background that he had, I thought that was really helpful because, once again, I'm someone who's visual, so I can remember more when I see stuff like that. I also did appreciate how the background was just black because you could focus on the pictures, but you could also kind of focus on him talking even though he was kind of just off to the side, so that was nice. And I like how it switched between pictures and him and his nice like Africa shirt. And the actual information that was covered, I feel like was good because he focused on different territories, different like groups of people within Africa, some religious stuff, some like trading things. He kind of included stuff about animals for a few seconds there. So I feel like it wasn't all focused on one thing, so you could kind of learn about the different areas and history of Africa. So I feel like it was basic knowledge, but it was like still important to know knowledge. And his little bit in the beginning with the whole like mug and little figure presentation, I thought that was so cute because usually I don't see people make merch of like themselves of a figure like that, or like mugs that have simple logos, and his logo is like easy to remember because it's simple and it's cool, so I like that. And in general, the overall idea of trying to do research and presenting information on all the countries in the world I think is really cool, because like in history classes it's just very like vague timeliney stuff, but with this channel you can go in more depth with things. So I think that's a really cool idea for a channel in general, especially with videos like this where it's kind of like filler, so they can't really go super in depth, but they still give information, so that's cool. I also really like the fact that if you go to their description, you can send in emails with information about the countries you're talking about or they're going to talk about. So I feel like that's a cool way to kind of like engage with the community. So I really like that too. But that's essentially the reaction. And once again, if you want to check the video out for yourself or check out more that the channel has done, I'll have those things like linked and sourced in the description for you. So all of that will be there. But I believe that is it. So thank you very much for watching. Bye.